All right, everyone, it's time to weigh in on the current political climate and an ongoing, what is partially, not completely, but partially a shilling attempt towards Trump, or you'd say Trump's fans or core support base. We'll start off with Ann Coulter, because I've talked about Ann Coulter for years. I've never been a fan of hers, and I think the other day it was very funny because, you know, as you may have seen on Twitter, Trump came out and called her a wacky nut job for being very flighty with regards to Trump's policies. Now, here's what I got into it on Twitter with a bunch of people who are like, well, Trump is cucked out on the wall, it's never going to be built. And what I pointed out is, if you believe that we need to secure the border, the idea of abandoning Trump's proposals is asinine, because there's no alternative. Every single one of the Democrats wants an open border, including those that claim that they don't. Like Bernie Sanders has half-assed and said, you know, years ago, he said, well, open borders is a Koch brothers idea. You know, bullshit, Bernie. You'd be made to have open borders. Hey, can you imagine Bernie Sanders gets elected and actually proposes defending the border? Oh yeah, we're going to deport a bunch of people. Yes, I'm going to break with 99% of the actual left that elected me in order to stand with the neoliberals that I said were basically, you know, hellish demons or something. That's never going to happen. Trump is the one that wants to secure the border, and here's the real thing. If Coulter weren't being disingenuous, she'd be willing to tell her fans that the reason that there's no fully built wall on the southern border isn't because of Trump. He's proposed it multiple times. He got his initial installation of funding, built a small section in the San Diego area, plus some prototypes, hired ICE agents and stuff. He got that. Then he tried to fund the wall. He was shut down by the Republicans. He was shut down by the Jeff Flakes and John McCain's of his own party. And some of them are gone, like Jeff Flake is gone, John McCain thankfully is dead, and so forth, but there are still obstructionists within his own party, like Mitt Romney. You think Mitt Romney wants to secure the border? Hell no, illegal migrant labor is great for his kind of business strategy, his vulture so-called capitalism, which is really vulture interventionism, taking advantage of our bankruptcy laws, among other things, embezzlement and offshoring money and so forth. These people love limitless migration, absolutely love it. They think it's wonderful and great. I think it's just the bee's knees. They don't want to secure the border. Now he's being obstructed by the Democrats because, of course, they retook the House of Representatives. So what's he supposed to do? At the 11th hour, he had no choice but to reopen the government because it would have started to cause actual negative effects to our economy. Like having it shut down for a few weeks like it was at first. Who cares? It's just like, you know, fucking you missed a paycheck. Oh my God, it's such a terrible time. You know, half of those government positions shouldn't even exist. If it had dragged on, it would have become a problem. So he says, okay, I'm reopening the government. He got a little bit of his funding for a few miles of border wall in southern Texas, actually, and that's basically all he got. That and upgrades to detention facilities, some border agents for the crossings. That's okay. It's not nearly enough. I pointed that out at the time. But what he did then is sign a national emergency. And he's like, well, you know, that deal is very limited. I need to do more. So I gave them their budget. We reopened the government. Now I get my wall through a national emergency. People are getting impatient. The court process in this country is very, very slow. If you want the wall to be built, what you need to do is try to kick as many Democrats and neocons out of Congress as possible. Vote tactically. Get rid of the... If there's a never build the waller within Congress, someone who voted against, with the exception of Rand Paul, who's valuable in many other ways and that sort of outweighs it, yes, I would say you should vote against every Republican that abandoned the idea of backing Trump on these issues on his national emergency declaration. Every single other one, you should primary them and get rid of them. You should, or even fucking vote for the Democrat because it makes no difference on one of the main issues we're talking about. Vote against every other Democrat as well, tactically, and get as many of them out as possible. Try to get people in power that actually give a shit about our border. That's how you solve it, but here's the thing. That can't be encapsulated in one tweet, number one, which is Coulter's, you know, attention span, I guess. Number two, it's complicated. See, people want simple solutions. They want easy solutions. They want the easy way out. It's very difficult to organize people for something that's like a 10-step plan. That's why people have problems with addiction. And so what you've got here is a case where Ann Coulter is offering this heavily altered false reality in which Trump is somehow responsible both for Congress and the judiciary. What exact alternative is there? Now, people say, well, and Coulter's already said he can just use the military. That's what he's doing with his national emergency declaration. He is clearing Pentagon funding as a national emergency, a matter of military and strategic importance for the safety of this nation, to build the wall. The Ninth Circuit issued an injunction. I agree with you that the injunction is itself unlawful, but it's been issued and it will be adhered to until SCOTUS weighs in and says that. That's the way the judiciary works in this country. If we were to begin ignoring that, that might be great while Trump's in office. Oh, well, Trump is capable of pragmatically solving some of these problems. He's being obstructed by the deep state. He can go around them now. That's wonderful. What about the next president? How do I know that it's going to be someone that I would trust making those kinds of decisions without a judiciary or a legislative body capable of blocking them? See, that's how you get the degradation of a republic into an empire that then goes through. Some leaders are really, really good. They have wonderful ideas, and they're like, I don't know, Julian the Apostate or something, or Augustus. But then you get a Nero, then you get a Caligula, and then, they reverse all of that gain, and sometimes far worse. Yeah, no thanks. I think I'll stick with the republic, including with some of its difficulties at times. And then we've got extensive shilling online. In regards not just to that, but other things as well. It's like the Yang thing. It's a meme. Now, some of the people doing that are doing it ironically. It's shitposting. It's funny to them. Like most of these larger commentators that are, have the goofy-looking pink hats at this point in their profile, I think are being ironic. Some of them are black-pilled. Like they're despondent, and they're like they delve into what's, if you haven't heard of this, what's called Accelerationism. The idea of, well, abandon the half-asser, which they identify as Trump, which again I discredit that argument. But they're getting impatient, so there's nothing to be done about it. Vote for like Bernie or someone who wants to give universal basic income. Basically collapse the system by tactically voting for the shittiest people in order to bring about a civil war or a revolution or something like that. I'll hazard a guess that there's a very low order of probability that that's what would happen. No, more likely you'd end up in a considerable state of misery that would last for generations, and you would never recover. No, it'd be like in the post-Soviet era. It'd be like being a Russian after the fall of the USSR. Be a little bit of a problem. There are better ways to go about it. Number one is be a little bit patient. And some of these people are like, they're despondent anyway because they're like, oh my God, the United States will cease to exist because of demographic change. Republicans will never win again anyway, so we might as well just abandon them. That's not the way that demographics work. Again, look at the election morph that I made, I think 3 years ago or something. That was through the 2012 election. Demographic shift has very little to do long-term with voting trends. It also has relatively little to do with issues. Trust me, you'll see. If people don't get so impatient that they fuck everything up and turn the U.S. into a third world country. But I have a feeling some of these shills want to do that. See, the other part is, some of the people spreading the Trump sold out, there'll never be the demoralizing stuff. The core of people doing that are the 1 or 2% are basically share blue shills. They're paid to do this. They're liberals. They want to get like the far left in power. I wouldn't be surprised if it was more on the Justice Democrat side of liberalism than the corporate libs. I think they're the ones probably doing this because they understand. It's obvious that the progressives understand the concept of mimetic warfare now. Instead of just saying, well, it's incel, neckbeard stuff. No, they understand that it's a valuable propaganda tool. It's just that they're misapplying it. See, what they're doing is they're taking all the Trump memes, putting Yang on them, this non-candidate, essentially. He doesn't have a political pulse. They're doing that in order to cause chaos, basically. To convince people that, well, Trump has cucked out in some way. Well, he hasn't. He's waiting for SCOTUS. If your main issue isn't peace or taxes or something like that, which he's succeeded on, he passed tax reform, he got rid of the ACA mandate, if not the ACA itself, but that was Paul Ryan's fault mostly, not Trump's fault. He tried 3 times. He couldn't get the Republicans to get their heads out of their asses. The closest he came was McConnell, oddly enough. McConnell's fucking stupid. So he succeeds there. There are ongoing negotiations with North Korea. The ROK and DPRK have taken the fore at this point, so they're the ones mainly negotiating. It's like it almost doesn't matter if we have another summit. They're creating peace on their own. They're the primary antagonists in it. The U.S. is just the backer of the ROK, so I'm not sure that it matters. I don't care if they have rogue nuclear program as long as there's a peace treaty. That's still obtainable, certainly. And I've been, analyzing that for the last year and a half. Trump has had successes, and some people, then there will be people who say, this is the other thing, oh, boomer cringe, ha ha ha. you are a Trump apologist. No, I call out Trump when he does something wrong, but he's not doing anything wrong with regards to building his wall. He is physically incapable of bypassing the Ninth Circuit at this time. He has to wait for SCOTUS. Can you imagine the outcry? What would happen? Let's say the alternative happens. Okay, Coulter gets her way. He says, okay, well, not just the national emergency. I'm just going to start using eminent domain and mobilizing the military, and somehow magically I'm going to appropriate the resources to build this wall. That's a different issue that she doesn't want to mention. But the resources are there because of Jesus magic or something, so we start building it. He would get removed from office, specifically for ignoring the entire legislature, including members of his own party that voted against him, and looking like a tyrant. Now, of course, again, he has the constitutional authority to declare a disaster, to declare a national emergency, rather, on the border, utilize eminent domain for the defense of this nation, although eminent domain is a necessary evil at best. He has the constitutional authority to appropriate the money, and to do that, yes, absolutely, objectively. But until SCOTUS overrides the Ninth Circuit's injunction, we act in the judicial sense. You must act as though it is unlawful. Unfortunately, that's the way our system has worked for a very long time. Now, the left has been on the receiving end of this many, many times. Oh my God, it's self-evident that it's unlawful for the government to discriminate against a gay couple that wants a state marriage contract because it's basically a property contract. It has nothing to do with spirituality. Absolutely, I agree with you. But you had to wait for SCOTUS now, didn't you? Because federal courts kept issuing injunctions, and states kept it illegal. It's almost like you have to wait for a long drawn-out, yes, I understand, very frustrating fucking process. People, a case can go before SCOTUS, a year later it hasn't been solved. In this case, though, I'm optimistic. I'll tell you why. In closing, I'm optimistic because, ultimately, I think there's a 99.9% chance SCOTUS sides with Trump. And the fact that Trump has now two people there, he has Kavanaugh, and he has, what's his name there, the one that took over for Scalia that I can't remember at the moment. He has two justices in there. Let's face it, if he gets a second term, he'll get a third, because Ginsburg is not long for this role. There's a reason why they're not showing her in public. It's not because she's dead, by the way. Yeah, that's a conspiracy theory, so-called. It's not because of that, it's because she looks like death. Trust me, after going through what she's gone through, she's still in rehabilitation. She's never going to fully recover. She's on death's doorstep. She's in her mid-80s. She's had cancer twice, a heart attack, and everything else under the sun. How much longer can she last? He'll get at least one, probably two more slots there if he gets reelected. But then there are some people, accelerationism. We'd rather let Bernie Sanders or Kamala Harris choose who that is. That sounds like a wonderful idea, now doesn't it? Yeah, Trump gets obstructed on building his wall. Let me vote for the people that are obstructing him. Yes, that makes a whole lot of sense from a populistic standpoint. No, I think that it's dumb. I think that it's black-pilled nonsense from people that are too lazy to try to actually change the system in a more positive way. And then they'll say it's cringy to suggest that you can do that. No, look at the Saul Alinsky tactics. The thing is never as bad as it's projected, essentially. Like, you've been shown this sort of monstrous gorgon, and really all it is paper mache on a chihuahua. That's basically the far left movement. You're seeing it as invulnerable, it's unstoppable, it's a cancer, it can't be excored, there's nothing we can do about it. We must just not participate, drop out of society like hippies, oddly enough. Last night some people were saying on Politically Incorrect, well, we form communes or something for the preservation of Westerners, and everything else falls to hell. That's not how to do it. It's like when people say, well, the white race is going to disappear. Let's go to the Northwestern. Okay, so you withdraw, essentially. So you shrink. You make yourself less powerful. More compact, but far less powerful. It's not going to work. That's not the way to do it. No, why don't you have more kids or something if you're so worried about demographic shift? Oh, but again, that would take effort. Oh my God, raising kids. Then I wouldn't have enough time to complain about the fact that there's no kids being born on Twitter or something. Oh my God, be an inconvenience. That's about all. Peace out.